Was there really one scene so controversial it brought an entire era of British comedy to an abrupt halt? Could it be that the outrageous antics of Benny Hill, once adored by millions, went too far for television? Today, we're diving into the jaw-dropping moment many believe led to the end of the Benny Hill Show, an event that still sparks debates decades later. So what really happened behind the scenes, and was this scene the final straw for a show already walking the tightrope of controversy? Let's break it down. To truly understand why the Benny Hill Show came to such how it began, Benny Hill wasn't just a comedian, he was a phenomenon. Born Alfred Hawthorne Hill in 1924, Benny had a natural knack for making people laugh. Early on, he found his place in the world for entertainment, but it wasn't until the launch of the Benny Hill Show in 1955 that his career really took off. From the very first episodes, it was clear Benny Hill was doing something different. His humor drew inspiration from the greats of silent cinema, think Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, but with a uniquely British twist. The show blended slapstick comedy, visual gags, and a cheeky, often naughty sense of humor. One of the show's trademarks was its fast-paced chase sequences, often involving Benny being pursued by a group of women. These scenes, always accompanied by the lively tune Yakety Sax, became a hallmark of the show. No matter how outlandish the situations, the humor was simple, universal, and often physical. This was a comedy that didn't need translation, and that's why it traveled so well. By the 1970s, the Benny Hill Show wasn't just a hit in the UK, it had gone global. The program was syndicated in over 100 countries, bringing Benny's unique brand of humor to millions. Hill became a household name, beloved for his ability to make audiences laugh without uttering a word. At his peak, Benny Hill was one of the highest-paid entertainers in the world. His appeal was universal, and it seemed like nothing could slow down his meteoric rise. People from all walks of life, young and old, loved the show. But as Benny Hill basked in his success, the world around him was beginning to change. A shift in societal attitudes was brewing, and soon, what was once seen as lighthearted fun would start to be viewed in a very different light. Despite its popularity, the Benny Hill Show was a product of its time, and as the 1980s approached, what once seemed funny and harmless was starting to raise eyebrows, particularly with its portrayal of women. The world was changing, and so were the audience's tastes. But at the height of his fame, Benny Hill might not have noticed the growing criticism. To him and his loyal fans, his comedy was still just that, comedy. After all, he had built his career on making people laugh with gags that played on innocence and absurdity. So how could it all go so wrong? By the 1980s, television and comedy were evolving, and what was once seen as harmless humor began clashing with emerging social movements, especially those promoting gender equality. The Benny Hill Show was increasingly viewed as outdated, with its portrayal of women in skimpy outfits being chased or objectified, drawing growing criticism. Feminist groups and media critics argued that the show reinforced sexist stereotypes and objectified women, portraying them as mere props. While Benny Hill saw his comedy as innocent, playful fun, societal attitudes were shifting. His humor, once considered groundbreaking, now felt out of step with a demand for more progressive and inclusive content. As other shows embraced these changes, the Benny Hill Show began to feel like a relic of a bygone era. Hill's loyal fans remained, but the rising wave of criticism was undeniable. The show reached a crossroads: adapt or become irrelevant. Ultimately, the tide turned against Hill, culminating in the infamous scene that led to the show's end. By the mid-1980s, the Benny Hill Show was already facing criticism, but there was one particular moment that many believe tipped the scales, a scene that would, for many, define the show's downfall. But what exactly happened, and why did it provoke such a strong reaction? The infamous scene in question aired during one of the show's later episodes. In this sketch, Hill played an elderly, lecherous character, a role he had often embraced, surrounded by his typical ensemble of attractive, scantily clad women. But this time, something felt different. The humor, which had once been perceived as cheeky and playful, now felt uncomfortable to many viewers. In the scene, Hill's character engages in his usual antics, but the interactions with the women were more overtly suggestive than before. What had once been playful chase sequences were replaced with something that many critics argued bordered on predatory. Hill's character leered, made inappropriate comments, and the gags felt less about slapstick fun and more about exploiting the women on screen. The response was immediate. Viewers flooded the network with complaints expressing outrage over what they saw as a deeply uncomfortable portrayal of women. Media watchdogs who had been monitoring the show for years called out the scene as being emblematic of everything wrong with the Benny Hill show, objectifying women and promoting outdated gender norms. This time, it wasn't just the feminist movement or media critics. Even loyal fans began to question if Benny Hill had gone too far. The scene deviated from the lighthearted humor viewers expected, and the change in tone was hard to ignore. ITV found itself at the center of a controversy it could no longer dismiss. The stir was largely due to timing. By the mid-1980s, societal attitudes toward comedy and the portrayal of women had shifted significantly. What was once overlooked now felt glaringly inappropriate, and Hill's character was seen as more predatory than cheeky. The laughter that accompanied these sketches became uncomfortable. The controversy quickly escalated, prompting ITV to take action. The network was already under pressure to modernize, and the backlash provided the final impetus. For Benny Hill, it was likely shocking. After decades of similar humor, he may have struggled to understand why this sketch sparked such outrage. He had always pushed boundaries, but times had changed, and this scene highlighted the problems with the show. For ITV, it marked the final straw. With growing backlash and mounting pressure, ITV faced a difficult decision. The Benny Hill Show had been a flagship program for decades, drawing millions of viewers worldwide. Canceling it meant parting with a comedy institution, but after the infamous scene, ITV knew action was necessary. By the late 1980s, ITV was already shifting its programming to meet evolving cultural norms. Benny Hill's once groundbreaking humor now felt outdated, and the controversial scene only underscored how out of touch the show had become. Ratings had been declining, with younger audiences gravitating toward more modern comedy. The show's formula, once fresh, now felt stale. ITV had to decide: continue investing in a show losing its audience, or move in a new direction. In May 1989, after 34 years on air, ITV canceled The Benny Hill Show. While this shocked fans and devastated Benny Hill, the decision was final. Declining ratings, cultural shifts, and the fallout from the infamous scene sealed the show's fate. ITV executives later explained that Hill's humor no longer resonated with modern audiences. The controversy had hastened the decision. For Hill, the cancellation was a bitter blow, leading him to retreat from public life. The show's end marked the close of an era, both for Benny Hill and for ITV. The cancellation of The Benny Hill Show ended an era but sparked debate over Benny Hill's legacy. For decades, Hill was a beloved figure in British comedy, known for his slapstick humor and global appeal. However, after the show went off the air, questions arose. Would he be remembered as a comedy icon or someone whose humor failed to keep pace with changing times? Hill's impact was undeniable. His brand of silent physical comedy transcended cultures, and at its peak, his show aired in over 140 countries. Yet by the 1990s, his legacy became more complex. Critics viewed his humor, particularly his portrayal of women, as outdated, problematic, and Hill withdrew from the public eye. Despite reruns still airing, his comedy was increasingly seen through a critical lens. While his influence on physical comedy is still recognized, many now see his humor as a relic of another era. Since his death in 1992, debate continues over whether Hill's comedy represents timeless fun or outdated stereotypes. His final years were quiet and solitary, but his work endures, sparking both admiration and critique. Benny Hill may have been a victim of changing times, or perhaps his humor had run its course. Either way, his impact on comedy remains significant, ensuring his legacy. for better or worse, will never be forgotten. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the next video shown on your screen for more updates on the world's most beloved stars.